Champions Mojo is part of the CG Sports Network.
Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo, hosted by two world record-holding athletes and health, life, and leadership coaches. Be inspired as you listen to Conversations with Champions. And now, your hosts, Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Champions Mojo podcast. And today I am co-hosting with Maria Parker. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Kelly. It's great to see you. We're recording earlier than usual. It's fun to see you in the morning.
Yes, we've got our coffee here and we are ready to go. But of course, people are listening at any time. So we are really excited about today's topic, and it is the advantages of saying no, and no in all kinds of situations. So today we're going to talk about why you might want to say no, what you might want to say no to, and how you could say no. So Maria, is this near and dear to your heart?
Yeah, it's a struggle of my lifetime. And saying no is putting it kind of negatively, because it's what it is setting boundaries for yourself, and boundaries help you to become better. I had a coaching meeting yesterday, and Steve Mellor, my coach, talked about helping you create your best life. I mean, good, what's the old saying? Good is the enemy of best, and it's so easy to do lots and lots of good things, to know lots of people, it's just to be good. And I've struggled my whole life with this, but, saying no really helps you be best, to get to that higher level of joy and functioning to, living the life you want to live, the life you're called to live.
And not just that, it also keeps you out of danger to say no in certain situations, and keeps you safe, and keep, a lot of things that we can say no to. And first, before we dive into these three segments and advantages of no, let's talk a little bit about just the culture of no. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. In our family, which you are in, we somehow had a lot of the Japanese culture in our home, decorative living rooms. And, Dad spent time in Japan, and we've all heard the famous Riptide story where he got carried out to sea in Japan, which is a great story. But he taught us in the Japanese culture that they never say no, that it's deemed to be rude to say no. So this isn't just in the Japanese culture, but when someone wants to say no, he said, in the time that he spent over there, that they would say, I will seriously consider that, which is no. That is the phrase for no. So it does actually mean no, but it's not coming right out and saying no. So sometimes no is a dirty word, and it's really, really hard to say no. From anything as simple as, I told you the Sunday that I was having a friend over for lunch, and, my friend came over, and funny, I had, prepared and bought a really nice lunch, chicken salad and, some great super coleslaw, and, I'd gotten some fresh berries, and I put together these beautiful plates, and we went out on our back deck, and, he was just really picking at his lunch, not eating it. And I was like, do you not like that? And he's like, well, I just basically came from an event and I ate pizza for lunch, and so I'm really full. And, it was kind of like, I wish that he had just said, I just came to spend time with you, and I want, to just have lunch. And this guy is like a son to me. He's 25 years younger than I am. And so it's not like I was having a private lunch. No, literally 25 years younger, but he's like a son to me. And we've been very close for many years. So, I wish that he had just said, no, Kelly, I just ate, but hey, you eat and we'll sit out here. But instead, it is hard to say no, even to people that you are so close to. And so, it's no in so many ways is construed in our society. Why do you think that is, Maria?
I think that's an interesting point that you make about the Japanese culture. I think we also have a culture of achievement and opportunity, and all that comes with saying yes to things,
Yes. Well, fill your plate, put it on your plate,
exactly,
bring it on.
exactly. And I think there's, in my family growing up, it was also kind of considered rude to say no. I mean, I was taught by my parents, if they asked me to do something, that I should do it. That if somebody asked me for a favor, I should do it. Yeah. So yeah, I think also for me, and I don't know, I think this is true for many people, if not most people, we really fear the opinions of others, and we want to be liked. I very much want to be liked by everyone.
Right.
My worst nightmare would be to have somebody say, well, that woman was rude. I just, because no, I don't, I always, I don't know if it was the way I was raised or culture or whatever, but I want to be liked. I crave others' good opinion of me. And it's become a huge problem in my life for my own personal happiness, and even in my family. So I think that's one of the reasons, at least for me. I don't know if it's as true for you, Kelly. I don't think it is quite as true. Certainly it isn't as true for my husband, who would say no first, and then
right. We both have husbands that say no a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
So
yeah. But for a lot of women, I was just talking, my Bible study the other night, and we were talking about this fear. This is a fear of people's opinions of us. We want people to have a good opinion of us. So saying no is not, and at least we've been raised that saying no to somebody is bad. And it's not, that's wrong. And it's not selfish to say no. But anyway, I think that,
and
for me, that's
sometimes
a big one.
it's even respectful to say no, that
Yes.
instead of going into something you've said yes to, but you're not enthused about, and you are, you're not as engaged. If you'd have just said no, it would have been better for everyone. So one of the things why would you say no? We've talked about, boundaries. It allows you to focus more on the things that you really want to do. You go into it with a better attitude. What other things would be why people should say no?
Well, I mean, for me, saying no will allow me to live a much less stressful life. I mean, and I have to keep that before me at all times. And also, saying no will allow me to live the life that I feel like I'm supposed to live. That, I'm a Christian. I believe, that God has a certain life for me. And if I say yes to everything, then I'm not saying no to the best thing. So, but a big thing is just stress. Like, if it feels good to say yes in the moment, it's like it's like a piece of candy.
Yes.
It's like, oh, somebody asked me to do something and I say yes, and that makes them happy. And that feels good. That lights up my pleasure centers in my brain to say yes. And then I have to live with that, because I also have a hard time, if I've said it, not doing what I said. It's hard for me to change. Well, it's not hard for me to change my mind, but I won't. If I've said it, I feel committed to doing it. I feel like it's a matter of integrity that if I've said it, so I've got to just stop it right here. No, no more. So, I think for me, just stress is the biggest thing, and living, again, as I said, not a good life, but the best life,
Yes.
the best life.
Yes. So in a few different areas that we might want to say no to things would be obviously invitations to do things, offers to do things. Do you want to go to the game this weekend? Do you want to go to the parade? Things that are kind of not a huge commitment, but just kind of an invitation. So those are, one of the things you might want to say no when you don't have the time. Might be a different thing. Like I'm swamped, or I just can't do it. You're feeling kind of pressure. There might be no's when it's not really a fit for you. It's not a good fit. We get a lot of emails from people that want to be on the show, or they are promoting someone else that wants to be on our show. And, it's often when we turn them down, it's not a fit. It's somebody that's, a whatever, underwater basket weaving, just for a lack of a better term, but it's just not a fit. So sometimes when you say no and you kind of explain it, it's just not a fit. Then that's that's one other area. And then there's just no for any reason at all. And, prior to the show, we try not to tell each other our stories before the show because we don't want to, ruin the authenticity. But the Parkers, we don't have a lot of guilt. We don't look back on things and say, oh, I wish I'd have done that differently. But I do have a story from my college freshman year when I wish I had said no more authentically, dramatically, and explained my no. I was a freshman at Clemson University and had been on a few dates, probably maybe a handful of dates with the big man on campus. I'm not going to say his name, but he was back. He had like graduated and was playing in the NFL for the world champion Super Bowl winners, San Francisco 49ers, came back with the Super Bowl ring and the Mercedes-Benz and the fur coat and the whole, he was. One night I came in from a date with him and I was wearing his leather jacket and I brought it and set it on it was cold, and I set it on my chair in my room, and every girl on the hall came and touched the jacket that night. I mean, this guy was like so big man on campus, posters of him all around. And, he was a good looking guy. And so, my sophomore year, he came back after like his second year in the NFL. And it was the first, date that we had gone out on. And I remember we were driving down the road and he stopped and he said, hey, I got some really cool stuff I want to show you. And he pulled out this little vial of white powder. Mm. And I thought, I knew immediately this was cocaine, or I don't know, I guess it was cocaine. I mean, I was completely, drug free. Back then it was just say no to drugs, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even say no to the guy. I literally jumped out of the car and I'm not kidding. It was like a run to the beach, Kelly Parker moment where I literally jumped out of the car. Clemson's a very small town, pretty, like there was nothing that was a mile from your dorm. So I jump out of the car. I run back to the dorm. I don't answer his calls. I never talk to him again. I never talked to him again. Wouldn't answer his calls. He dropped me notes trying to get back in touch. I should have taken that moment to say, no, are you out of your mind? This could ruin your career. This could ruin I know I was just 19 or 18 at the time. But I think there are many reasons to say no where there's a different no. There's not just a no, but there's a hell no in bad opportunities. Do you want to, do you want to go into
teachable no?
Yeah. Like a teachable no. Like, do you want to go into 18-foot surf when you've never been in the ocean? Do you want to, skydive when it doesn't look like a good, I'm just saying there are different types of no's that you can say. And that's a dramatic no, but it's one that haunts me. And he went on to, I believe, wash out of the NFL because of,
drug use.
Obviously, I don't know if it was drug use or just bad choices, bad choices where I didn't say no enough to him. Well, I said no to him in a very different way, but he didn't say no, he didn't say no to that point. So, Maria, do you have any stories around?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have many, many more stories of things I said yes to that I wish I'd said no to. And then other stories where often, and I've said this before in the show, that Jim asked me to do all kinds of things. And,
yes.
And
your husband.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've said yes to please him for all the wrong reasons, really, but they've been amazing experiences, and I've grown as a person because of them. So sometimes saying no just because you're afraid or you think maybe it's unwise. For instance, I would never have done Race Across America. Never. I mean, Jim said, you should do it. I'm like, no.
So now are you saying you should say yes?
No, I'm just saying that you have to perceive carefully what's underneath the no and the yes. And so for me, I think, recently somebody asked me to participate in something, which would have been a kind of a small commitment, and it was at a good commitment. It was at church. So it was like, something that needed doing. And it was actually even kind of went to my strengths, which, talking in front of groups and encouraging people. And I just gosh, I wanted to say yes. So I use one of the phrases we're going to talk about next, but I took some time to think about it, because my first instinct was like, hell yeah, because this is good. This is for God. This is where, it's right to my strengths. And then, but when fortunately at that time, I said, let me think about it and pray about it. And I got home and I thought about it and prayed about it and talked to Jim. And I was like, I don't have time for this. It was like a weekly commitment for weeks, and I just, and if I did it, I would want to do it really well. And that would involve, so I got back to him and turned it down. But I've said yes. That's like one example where I did it right, where I had an opportunity that was good for me, but already at this point in my life, and since maybe for the last 20 years, I have not said no enough. And I'm in coaching because I can't say no. And I also tend to surround myself with these very strong people I admire, who are always sort of, like Kelly, you invited me, you got to come join my, our master swim team, which would be good, right? Like I'm doing it.
And with your husband.
Right. It was a good ask. It was a great ask. I'm doing a podcast about, and for swimmers. And so I know how to swim, but I should join a swim team so I would be better. Should. When you hear the shoulds, that's right. Your like, bing, 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 pay attention to that.
Don't should on yourself.
Yeah. But no, just pay attention to that.
But you said no. I was going to actually give that as an example that you said no.
That might've been the second time in the year. And, and I hope, and I think saying no to things like that, the point is, these are both really good things that actually would be really good for me in many ways, and really good for other people. And so, that's all, that's where I want to be. I want to help people. But I've created a world that's too big for me to live in peacefully. And so I'm going to have to say no to so many good and even great things for a while, until I can get myself back to a place where I have the space to carefully consider, okay, if I'm going to say yes to master swimming, I'm going to have to say no to some of my cycling. I'm going to have to make that trade-off. So anyway, I've had so many opportunities, but mostly I just say yes. And then I feel bad and resentful because I have to do it, because I said I would do it. Another great example of a time I should have said no. It was years and years and years ago. Your brother was getting married, and I had committed to babysitting for my sister, the one who passed away, for her kids. She had 5 kids. It's very hard for her to get away. The only person that she could really trust to keep her kids for a week was me. And so she being a planner, she'd planned far in advance of Steve's wedding, your brother Steve's wedding. So I told her I would keep the kids, and they made their plans. And then Steve made his plans to get married. And I really wanted to go to Steve's wedding. It was important. You only get married once, and I could babysit for Jenny, anytime. But this was the case where I said I was afraid. I think partly afraid. And, I'd said that I would do it, and I didn't want to go back. And this is kind of more layered and nuanced and complex. But what I should have done in retrospect is gone back to Jenny and said, can you change your plans? My brother-in-law is getting married. I need to be there. But I didn't, because, so that's a different kind of, that would have been saying no to myself and my own fears of disappointing my sister. So anyway, there's so many layers to this, Kelly, and this is such an appropriate topic for me, and I think much more for me than you. I've tried.
I think, I think it's for everyone, because there's so many opportunities today. And, whenever you and I decide to do a podcast on our own topics, I checked with my husband, like I gave him 3 or 4 options that you and I were looking at. And he says no to many, many things and keeps a very clean plate so he can do the things he wants. And he said, I really like this one. I like helping people say no. And so even with he and I saying no, we definitely say yes to things that we don't want to say yes to, but let's talk about some of the things that we should say no to in our environment, because when we say no to things, we really get to do and be in our genius zone. We get to talk about, we get to do the things we want. We get to do the things we love. And
we have margin in our life. Right.
Yeah. We show up for the people. So the first thing that we have to do is figure out our North Star. What are the things you absolutely have to have? And if those things don't involve what somebody or something is asking you to do, then it gives you that, why am I going to say no? Because I want to do this. Like, I've asked you to swim, but you love to cycle. So you're going to say no to swimming. If you ask me to cycle, I'm going to say no because I love to swim. So I think, what other things can we say no to? And you and I talked about technology and how much we need to say no to that. You want to go down that road? Because I know you love that.
It's not really technology. It's the way that we are connected with people through technology. And I was talking with my daughter about this yesterday. In this day and age, there is no reason that you can't find or have a relationship with almost anybody, that you've ever had contact with in the world, because you could find them on Instagram, on Facebook, we could, LinkedIn,
text them, email,
text them. Yeah. I had a birthday this weekend, and I got multiple happy birthday messages from LinkedIn from people that I was never really friends with. They were just acquaintances. And my instinct is like to go on LinkedIn and thank them for the happy birthday message. What? I don't.
Right. That would have been hours.
It would have taken, it wouldn't have been hours. It would have been 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. That's, that's not, but I want to be liked, and so I think for me and for a lot of people, like Facebook, I haven't looked at Facebook since my birthday, because I know there will be a lot of people on there wishing me a happy birthday. And I think that's really nice. And there are people who will only reach out to me for Facebook. And there's some on there that I care enough about to respond to, but it's going to, that's going to have to be a more careful. It's going to take time for me to think about that and do that properly. But I think you just have to be aware that there are a lot more people so you've got your inner circle, and what's, you got your inner circle of people that you see every day that you love, your family or whatever. And then what's happened is this outer circle of acquaintances and friends, and, Facebook kind of ruined it for us by calling everybody that we have contact with on Facebook a friend, that some of them are friends, true friends, but very few, most of them, maybe they were friends once, or maybe they're acquaintances, or maybe they're just people who admire you, but you have to say no to about 95% of that. And that's hard, because again, for somebody like me who wants to be loved, wants to be liked, wants to be admired, that means ignoring people, which feels rude, but that's necessary for me to live my best life. What did Steve said? Something like, you want to bring your best self to, I love how you put this, possibly a smaller audience. It just made me laugh, because yes, I definitely need a smaller audience. So yeah, technology has definitely brought relationships in, or pseudo relationships into our lives that we must discipline ourselves to say no to.
Yes. And just, again, I think when we stay in our genius zone, when we're doing things that are floating our boat, and we're about to do another podcast of somebody that is staying in their genius zone, which I think is very interesting. But it's saying no to these different things. So what are a few of the ways that you can say no to invitations? You can say, I'm honored, but I can't, or, I appreciate the offer, and we learned it. This is in my book, and we've talked about it on the show before. In Pfizer, which does some of the best relationship training in the business, in Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, we were taught relationship task relationship. So relationship task relationships mean when you have to say something that seems a little hard, it's a task you're asking someone to do, or something negative, you are nice. Like, I appreciate the offer. So that's kind of a relationship. Like, you're being nice, and then, but I can't do it. And thank you for thinking of me. So it's kind of a no sandwich. So
Right.
that would be one tool that you could use, which is a no sandwich. And Mark and I say this all the time. It's not what you say often, it's how you say it.
So true.
So, just being a little bit aware of, gosh, this person did just ask me to do something. I really appreciate that, but I just can't. My schedule's full. Thank you for asking. And then the other complete opposite of that is just no explanation. And this is expert, advice, like the experts say, just, you don't even have to say anything, any reason, just, no, I can't do that. Period. There's not any,
No, thank you.
because we all feel like we have to explain it all out,
Yeah. And you find yourself lying about it or
Yes.
telling, right.
Yeah. Somebody just asked something of me and I wrote like 3 paragraphs on why it was not a fit. Now, this is a business situation, so it was a little different. And I felt like, as I was writing it, I knew we were going to be recording this. It literally was this morning as I was writing the no. And then I closed it with, and this one I actually learned from Cejih Young from Cejih Sports Management, who we are part of. Cejih said I think it was his grandmother that taught him to say, it's not a no always, it's a no for now. So that's
nice.
what, nice. And that's what I said in this email. These are my reasons, and it's not a no always, because maybe down the road it will be a yes, but it's a no for now. So I think that's kind of an open-ended.
Yeah, I think I love those ways of saying no, and we'll put in our notes a list of other great phrases. But I have no problem with the run from the car no. If no is going to save your life, or if it's all you can do, then what do they call that when ghosting? Ghosting is rude. It's rude. It's rude to ghost. But it's a no. And if you can't do it any other way, that's okay. That's what I would say. The other one is the pause. There's the run from the car when somebody's offering you cocaine, or the ghosting or whatever. And then the other is just the pause. It's like, and this is what I'm working on now so that I can be better at the write off no, but is just give me a minute, let me talk to somebody about it. I'll get back to you. And then you can, in the quiet and away from for me, the cocaine hit of the response I'm going to get when I say yes, I can consider, is this something I really want to do? And so I think that, there's lots of really good ways to say no. And then there's other ways that aren't so good, but they're still better for you than saying yes.
Yes. I love that. The pause. And that must be one you're using, Maria, because I think that's great for you, having listened to all of the ways that no has been hard for you to go back and think about it. Like you gave your church example. And so these are all, just to make your life a little bit better. And it's now time for the takeaways. Maria, you and I have heard the takeaways are the best part of the show.
That's right, Kelly, because the takeaways are curated information, which is what we give to our clients when we coach them.
If you would like to take your performance to the next level in health, life, or leadership, go to our website and schedule your free 30-minute consultation.
Yes, just click on our coaching page and book there. We're looking forward to bringing out the champion in you.
And now, the takeaways. So Maria, coming out of this, let's wrap it up with our takeaways.
You're going to put me on the spot here.
Yeah. So just what are you going to take out of this that you can use, because you're being coached on this? And
yes, I am.
What are some things that you're really going to sink your teeth into?
So that's good. I think, having talked this through, and I am a verbal processor, combining sort of, and I've done it already, the pause with the technology no, the technological friends no. I think one action I will take is to think about, before I get on Facebook and see all the delightful happy birthday messages, I'll think about the people that I really hope to hear from. And the ones that, like, I would, and so then when I go into Facebook, I'll be intentional about making sure that I reach out and respond to the people that I really want to, and not just, thoughtlessly spend an hour and a half going through and making, because what I would do is I would typically, each person who said happy birthday, which is like an automated thing on Facebook, I would write a message to. My note is so far away that I would feel like, oh, I had to write a special personal message because I want to be liked. So I'll combine my pause with intention and technology and think about before I get on there who I'm going to respond to.
Good.
Well, I hope anybody who's listening to this feelings aren't hurt if they don't get responded to. See, there I am. I want to be liked.
Yeah. Yes. And here's the thing, that if someone really wants somebody to respond to them, you or me or somebody they're trying to get a response from, then it's going to take more than a birthday wish on Facebook.
Right.
Like if somebody is truly, and I've talked about this before about relationships that I've had in the past, that I feel like I'm the one that always says happy birthday. And I'm talking good friends. I'm the one that always says happy birthday, happy new year, happy. And this is
great at that.
That I really try to maintain my close friendships with family, with my nieces and nephews, that I reach out a lot. And so if I really want to have somebody come back and reach me, then it's going to take 2 or 3 times. This, again, a Pfizer sales pitch is, it takes 7 times to really change someone's mind or to get them to buy into something. So if you really want to reach somebody that you love and they're just either ghosting you or you're not getting the response you want, then it's going to take more than just, again, a happy birthday message on Facebook.
What about you? Do you have
my real one for this is, again, I don't want to ghost anyone that is really needing to connect with me. And again, it's going to take more than 2 or 3 times to try to reach me with all the clutter that one has to get through in life. But I have this issue where people will reach out very peripherally for business in multiple areas of business, from, a statement about my book or connecting on the book or on the podcast or even in our real estate business. And it's just kind of an inquiry, kind of a loose touch base. And I'm like you, I feel like I need to respond to them. And I've noticed myself that I often reach out to people that I do want to have on the show or people that I do want to do business with, and they ghost me. They ghost the heck out of me. Like it might take 5 times for me to email somebody that we want on the show for them to answer me, but then they finally do. Oh, remember I just forwarded you the one about the thing. So the guy wrote back, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Somehow I missed your email. Right. And so, so that I do think that sometimes ghosting is better than a no, especially if you really don't want to do any business, then you ghost. But it's not a nice way, but it is a way to say no by just not responding to all the things that we get. So I think that's the takeaway for me, that we don't need to respond to every little incoming contact that we get through email, Facebook, and all that.
Yeah, that's great, Kelly. That's such a great takeaway, because it feels rude from our standpoint at our age, right? But
yes,
it's not. This is the way it's done now, unfortunately.
All right, Maria. Well, it's been another wonderful one. Always great to be with you. I love you so much.
I love you too, Kelly. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Champions Mojo.